Hello, welcome. I'm Gregory Nato, and I'm co-chair of Newburgh Ward 1 Neighbors, and I'm here with Sonya D. Grant, who is running for City Council. Here as our representative for Ward 1 in Newburgh, New York. In preparation for the 2025 Ward 1 City Council election, neighbors from across the ward came together to identify the questions that matter most to our community. Over the past several months, Ward 1 neighbors collected more than 100 unique, specific questions from residents, submitted through surveys, social media, public meetings, and one-on-one conversations. Ward 1 Neighbors is a grassroots network of over 200 residents representing every corner of our community. We are engaged, paying attention, and deeply invested in Newburgh's future. Earlier this spring, we hosted a well-attended public forum to give residents the chance to hear directly from candidates. Now we're digging deeper, looking for substance, specifics, and vision. Each question in this interview series reflects a shared desire for transparency, accountability, and equitable development in Newburgh. Our goal was to cut through vague political language and ask candidates for clear, forward-looking responses that speak to real issues and daily experiences in Ward 1. This final set of 12 questions was developed through a collaborative and transparent process. We grouped similar questions, removed duplications, and worked to ensure that the final list reflects a wide cross-section of resident concerns, from housing to safety, government responsiveness, and economic opportunity. Our purpose is simple: to skip the spin and get to know the people who want to represent us, what they think, what they prioritize, and what they'll actually do for us. During each recorded interview, candidates will have 1, a brief welcome introduction from Ward 1 neighbor moderator, which we just did. The candidate will have 3 minutes to introduce themselves and their vision for Newburgh. They will have 3 to 5 minutes to answer the 12 questions, and then we'll give them an opportunity of an additional 3 minutes for a close with any final thoughts. All interviews will be unedited except for length and clarity, and will be made available to the public ahead of the June 24th primary. Our aim is to provide a fair, informative platform for voters to better understand each candidate's priorities, style, ability to engage with the Ward 1's needs. Okay, I'd like to welcome Sonya D. Grant. Hello, Sonya. Welcome. Why don't you take 3 minutes to tell the voters who you are and a little bit about yourself and your vision for Newburgh.
Hello, Greg. Thank you for having me. Hello, neighbors. Yes, I am Sonya D. Grant, your neighbor here in Ward 1 on Forsyth. And yes, I am running as the candidate for your ward representative. I have been here observing all of Newburgh and its beauty. And so Ward 1, from what I can see, is very diverse, ethically, economically, generationally. What they all have in common is their marginalized communities, people of color, immigrants, single mothers, struggling working class peoples, tenants, seniors, homeowners. So everyone's needs deserves to have a voice, and they deserve to be heard. I understand and respect the complexities of our community. There is work to be done. No one group alone can do this work by themselves, and definitely not at the same time. As a lifelong advocate for equity, opportunity, and community empowerment, I'm stepping into this race because I believe in this city's future, and that it depends on leaders like myself who not only listen, but lead with purpose and passion. My vision, what is my vision? It is bold, it is community centered, safe streets, affordable housing, strong local businesses, empowered youth. It is so important that we take our youth along with us. And so with that being said, with my 3 decades of service, I am proud to say that through my work civic engagement, my youth empowerment, or as even a proud member for 33 years of a lifelong member oriented in service and community driven, I have been the center of voices of those too often left unheard. This campaign is about harnessing the power of people, not politics, to move Newburgh forward block by block, voice by voice, step by step. And that means you and I. I am here to be that voice for Ward 1 and to ensure our community has the representation it deserves. I am a mother of 3. I am a homeowner and taxpayer. I am an entrepreneur and a lifelong advocate for the people. This is what democracy looks like. This is what accountable and transparent leadership looks like. Ward representation matters. Thank you.
Okay, so let's get started. Our first topic is housing affordability, stability, and community cohesion. Rents are rising, property taxes are unsustainable, and many residents are at risk of losing their homes. What creative, concrete strategies will you pursue to address housing affordability and displacement without pitting renters against homeowners or new neighbors against long-term residents?
That is a great question, and one in which no one should be priced out of their neighborhood. And so with that being said, I will advocate for affordable housing, protect tenants, support homeowners, and push for responsible development that respects our history and our people. And so in terms of strategies, the strategies that I would use is, in terms of the problem itself, expand affordable housing development, where we would ensure new development includes a percentage of permanently affordable units. And then when it comes to initiatives for homeowners, I participated in a program for first-time home buyers. And so I think that that is something that I see that I will definitely would love to share and educate the community about, because again, that afforded me to put a down payment, to have down payment assistance and have ownership counseling. I think that that is very important, and there are definitely resources regarding different strategies, but those would be a few that I would recommend. Thank you.
Okay. Is community voice, trust, and engagement. How will you guarantee that community input influences city decisions, especially on development, public land, and neighborhood planning? Be specific about the tools or processes you would put in place.
That is a great question, and your voices matter. Your voices matter to the point where I plan to have town hall meetings. I plan to have meeting time set up office hours. And I also plan to create a newsletter where these are all tools that I choose to use as communication vehicles to keep the communication lines open, where you are, I am accessible to you basically. I am here for you. And so with that being said, I believe that this is an effective way where then I can make sure that as your advocate, that the city is aware specifically when dealing with those issues that you address, that they have a sound, clear direction on what matters most to you. Thank you.
Specific steps will you take to ensure these groups and departments like code compliance are treated as valuable partners? How will you hold property owners accountable for blight and ensure follow-up when residents report issues?
Property owners, that's what it was. Yeah, I was like, wait a minute. Okay, I'm sorry. Accountability. everyone needs to be accountable. I'm going to start there. Accountability isn't about blame, it's about responsibility. And so when we talk about our property owners being accountable, what I would love to see is possibly a dashboard of some kind to see how we are, so to assess where the problem lies, and as we work towards solutions, how it progresses towards resolving the needs of our tenants and our renters.
Okay. Ward 1 is a diverse community with a wide range of backgrounds, languages, and priorities. What specific steps will you commit to so that all residents, including non-English speakers and marginalized groups, feel heard, valued, and represented? Not just during campaigns, but throughout your entire term. Be concrete about how you'll build trust across differences, respond to concerns, and maintain real, ongoing relationships.
That is a great question, and in my introduction, I definitely agree that Newburgh is diverse, but we are a neighborhood of people who need to see each other first. I am big on nurturing relationships and fostering trust, because that is where it all starts. And so when you talk about the different cultures and everything that everyone brings, each of us brings something different, and we have to learn to see the value in each other. So with that being said, as I was door knocking, and I loved meeting my neighbors, and it was wonderful to hear the different experiences of everyone being right here, the different needs, the different perspectives. And so with that being said, as a Ward 1 representative, it is very important to get to know each person for your uniqueness. We are a group, but we are also special in our own right. And so with that being said, I plan to make neighborhood visits. Many people were saying that they only see the ward rep, in which they didn't even know who she was, only during election time. And I made note, and I want to say thank you to all those who signed my petition to get me on the ballot, because the incumbent tried to get me off the ballot. So I want to say that I promised, and I don't make promises that I can't keep. I said to those neighbors that this won't be the last time you see me. And so when you talk about the tools and steps, that's already a part of me. I am naturally here first, before politics, before trying to find solutions. I have the same needs as you, and so I want to just say that again, together, we will be the change that we need to see. Thank you.
Our next topic is taxes, economic development, and local business. How would you position Newburgh for future economic development? What kind of city should we become? And what's missing from our current planning efforts? What are 1 or 2 low-cost, low-bureaucracy changes you would champion right away that could have an immediate impact?
That is a great question. So when I think about small businesses, they are the fabric of our community, and everyone has an opportunity to be an entrepreneur in your own right, whatever your specialty is, and you deserve to have support. And so what I would love to see is for us to do just that. I want to see where I would love to implement a directory for our local businesses, because a lot of them, even as I'm door knocking throughout the ward, have expressed that they've lost the foot traffic. And although we're a walkable city, they are struggling with maintaining customers. And so branding and marketing and helping them to expand, outreach where they're located, something simple as that, identifying where they're spread out within the ward, and whether that's a brick and mortar or online businesses. I think it's so important to be flexible and open to different types of businesses. I myself, as an entrepreneur, I, along with two of my partners of NB Pop Culture, we host and organize an event here in the city of Newburgh because we are about bringing people together, bringing the community together. In the same vein, we're about supporting local businesses, those that may not have a brick and mortar, but that are mobile friendly restaurants. And so with that being said, for the last 4 years, we're going into the 4th year. We've taken it a step further and we've raised money and we've given a grant to a local business to support. So when you ask what are ways, I say I will continue doing what I've been doing, but in addition, I want to see a directory where we can literally support our local businesses. Thank you.
Other communities have faced challenges like Newburgh's and have revitalized without widespread gentrification or displacement. What cities or neighborhoods do you look to as models, and what specific programs or strategies would you adapt for Ward 1 and Newburgh?
That is a great question. And so what comes to mind is right here near our home of Newburgh, and that is Beacon. Beacon, to me, especially Main Street, you can take that Metro North train and literally walk to support local businesses right there. You can come up from the city and make a day out of it. And I want to see Newburgh utilize that same transportation system. I feel like it's just another step. But when we talk about development happening right here on Liberty, the new projects underway, there needs to be more foot traffic. I don't think it's enough just to say that we'll have new tenants and, new people occupying, new neighbors occupying that development. We need to be more of an attraction for our neighboring cities as well as those that's willing to travel. And again, what I will speak to is I can't give you Newburgh illuminated, but what I can give you is the food truck festival that I spoke about. And what I've learned from that same experience is that people traveled. They came from different areas, from Brooklyn, from Monroe. There were many different places that they heard about the festival. So when you ask me, what do I want to see? I want to see where we utilize the same resources that are right here. It's just another step that we have to take. And so just talking to maybe, different transportation companies, we can get a shuttle bus, possibly from Beacon to Newburgh, to bring them specifically to the Liberty area to support those local businesses and anywhere, really making it more of a tourist attraction in this area. And I think with that being said, that's something that can be done now.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Other communities have faced challenges like Newburgh's and have revitalized without widespread gentrification or displacement. What cities or neighborhoods do you look to as models, and what specific programs or strategies would you adapt for Ward 1?
That is a great question. And when I think about our surrounding cities, I think about Beacon. I love the feel of Beacon when you take the Metro North and you get off and you're able to walk to support the local businesses right there on Main Street. I want to see the same thing for the city of Newburgh. And so with that being said, I would love to adapt that same line of thinking where we utilize transportation services, where we take that same Metro North and we partner with maybe a shuttle bus to transport people to the city of Newburgh, to our restaurants here in Ward 1 specifically, our beautiful waterfront restaurants, as well as Pamela's and others. I don't want to go into naming, but we have so many great local businesses here that if we just make a day of it, you can get on that train and literally enjoy all that the city of Newburgh, specifically Ward 1, has to offer. And so my experience has been with doing the food truck. We've had people come from all over, from Brooklyn, from the boroughs, from Monroe, and so just to support the festival and local businesses right here. And so I want to see more of that. And that's something that I think that when you talk about a thriving community, it's all about having an attraction. We can be that attraction. We have so much to offer. And I support it 100%. Thank you.
Next, we have a question about city government and accountability. Do you support changing how Newburgh's government is structured? For example, replacing the city manager with a strong mayor. Explain why or why not, and what you would do to make city leadership more accountable.
That is a great question, and one in which I definitely support being open to change. I'm all about change. So if it's something that we strongly feel hasn't been working, I'm always open to change, but making sure that there are steps in place in which we follow and we understand what it takes to make that most effective. When you talk about leadership and being accountable, the first thing I think about is knowing their roles and responsibilities. For myself, if I am to be elected, is to understand what the city manager actually does. From what I know, he oversees the daily operations of the city. He implements policies, policies set by elected officials, manages city staff and budget. So if this is something that we feel a mayor himself or herself can do more effectively, I'm open to visiting that. Start by viewing the charter, the city's charter or municipal codes, official job description and ethical standards. I just would need to know a little bit more specifically before jumping in to say change is needed. I'm all about it, but doing my research first and working together with those who are more familiar with the processes, right? Because again, this is a position that I'm working alongside as a team. And so when we look to leadership and holding them accountable, for me, attend and monitor public meetings, writing down notes, reporting back to my constituents, letting you know, again, in a transparent way, exactly how decisions were made and how we derive to them. When you talk about accountability, requesting the FOIL, we all should be able to access and have the right to see exactly on paper what was documented. And if there is a dispute there that we disagree with, be able to challenge that. Again, build and mobilize a coalition. That is also a great way if we feel the need that this is something that we want to do. There are models around us, other cities have implemented where the city manager is not the one necessarily in charge. Thank you.
Okay. Infrastructure, transit, and public space. Question. What are 3 practical steps you would take to make streets in Ward 1 safer and more functional for drivers, pedestrians, and cyclists? Include how you will address reckless driving, enforce traffic laws, and your position on the 2-car per unit code, and the timeline for acting on the parking study.
That is a great question. And so when we talk about the infrastructure of our city, the city of Newburgh is known to be a walkable city, and I'm going to start here with our sidewalks. When we talk about safer streets, so as we all believe now know from our first meet and greet the candidates, I unfortunately experienced a bad fall right here in our ward where they're beautiful but unleveled, unmaintained sidewalks, our bluestone sidewalks, need to really be addressed. Because again, just taking a walk should not be where you have to be conscious of cracks in the in the sidewalk, not to step on the crack and this, that, and the other, or having a conversation and you're distracted and then you go down face first, like I did, and unfortunately I'm still not fully recuperated. But I felt the need to be at that meeting 3 days after that happened because it was important. I just want to say that. And so with that being said, I do want to address those sidewalks. I spoke at a city council meeting and I did say to the council that we have to work with the homeowners. It's very expensive as homeowners to maintain, as we know, it's our responsibility as homeowners to maintain the sidewalks and the property. However, there has to be grants and different things like that that can speak to assisting just these same things, because again, overall, it's for the good of the whole city. And so when we talk about the streets themselves, we need more stop signs, we need more traffic lights. You know, I've been door knocking again, and one of the complaints or the issues has been that we are a city full of children, full of young children. Not only with the sidewalks do they run, but also just with they're needing more street traffic lights and stop signs. People are speeding, and these neighborhoods where they're not necessarily watching and caring about what is coming before or after, right? So implementing for sure more street signs, more stop signs rather, and more traffic lights is so important. Also, when you talk about parking, the need for parking, you mentioned a 2-car, that's a real issue here. Again, talking to one of the neighbors, she mentioned to me, she tried to create her own solution in which she was fined, where right here on one of our streets, there was no parking. It was late at night, and she was told that she had to park in a parking lot that was not necessarily right across the street. So she still had to walk in the dark to get to her home. And that was the only place where they said that she could park, but she chose to park next door in a vacant lot as a solution, in which she was fined, of course. So we really need to work with each other to see what makes sense, because again, we are definitely developing, and with more development comes more people. With more people comes the cars. And unfortunately, that's not realistic that there are 2 cars per household these days. So in terms of just really assessing what that looks like for us, we have to look at these properties that are vacant and see if there's a way that we can give our neighbors a pass, because no one should be paying fees and fines based on you just trying to park your car after working a long day, coming home from work, and you are driving around for parking. That's unacceptable. And so those are my initiatives, for sure. Thank you.
Partnerships and regional impact. What partnerships will you build with the county, state, or local groups to bring new resources and opportunities into Ward 1? Name at least one goal that you have in mind you would pursue in your first year and how you'd go after it.
That is a great question. Partnerships and collaborations are my specialties because I believe your voice matters, not only for the local level, for the regional, as well as federal. And so with that being said, I am willing to work alongside our local, our regional, our federal officials to get information on how we can always improve the needs here of our neighbors. But first, that begins with you, with your voice, in terms of collecting the data and understanding. Again, I spoke about just having different vehicles and keeping the communication lines open, in terms of you being able to express to me just what you want to see. I think it starts there. And with that being said, when you talk about partnerships, the partnerships start right with you and I. Thank you.
Constituent support and problem solving. Residents of Ward 1 are resourceful and committed, but they often face unnecessary hurdles when trying to navigate city systems to resolve issues. What specific strategies will you use to make government more accessible, responsive, and solution-oriented for your constituents?
That is a great question, and I totally agree that our neighbors right here in this ward are very talented. You are very talented, and I look to educate our community, specifically our Ward 1 neighbors, and have a vehicle where we can share that information, resources. I believe sometimes a lot of us aren't as familiar or as knowledgeable about where to go or how to do things, but I think the solution is right amongst us. And so with that being said, as I noted before, I would love to have town hall meetings where not only are the questions directed towards me, but it's more of an open forum where we all can support each other, where not one person may know the answer. Sometimes it takes the village, right? And I believe in that village where, again, I believe that if we see each other and know more about what each person brings to, what assets we each bring to the table, that this can be a great way for everyone to build trust. And so when you talk about resources, just again, my role would be to house that information and to make sure that it is then disseminated back to the ward in a way where everyone has the same information. Thank you.
Perception and public narrative. Newburgh has made real progress, but outside perceptions often remain stuck in the past. What specific strategies would you prioritize to shift the city's image and ensure its successes are recognized and respected?
I absolutely love this question because it is in my wheelhouse. I am all about community empowerment, and there is one thing that I can think of in terms of what I would implement is that newsletter that I spoke about. I think that is a great way to do spotlights and to acknowledge who's right amongst us, right? There are some great neighbors I love hearing the different stories and the different backgrounds, that we all become the fabric of this community. We all play a part in what makes Newburgh great. We are in control of our own narrative. We just have to be bold enough to tell the stories and to stand up for what we see, and for those that can't speak, to be their voice. And so with that being said, I just love the concept of a newsletter, like I said, because again, it gives so much information. It's a hub for a place where it can be fun. It can be, something that people look forward to. The neighbors can contribute to it. It's a place that it can be our own way of documenting and telling our story. We don't need the media to do that. And so I think that, again, as we learn and grow with one another, we are all part of seeing the change we need to see. And so with that being said, as your ward rep, I want to be that change that we need to be. It starts from me. Thank you.
And our last topic is power, priorities, and advocacy. You will be one of 7 votes if elected to City Council. What are the top 3 non-negotiable issues for Ward 1 residents, and how will you fight to make sure our voices shape the outcome of those issues? How will you educate and engage your fellow council members to understand and support those priorities, even if they don't represent Ward 1?
That is a great question. My top 3 priorities would be affordable housing, safer neighborhoods, and prioritizing our roads and sidewalks. And so with that being said, affordable housing is a need, but it has to be done more strategically to protect, not undermine, real physical and mental health needs of our community. Although as a newcomer to the council, if I'm elected, I will be learning a lot, but I won't vote on issues just to go along, like giving myself a raise when our neighbors are struggling daily to meet high costs of living on low paying wages because Newburgh is too expensive to live. Safer neighborhoods. We've got to get more clear purpose for our youth. I am big on youth empowerment and bringing them alongside us with these civic issues. Civic engagement is so important with letting them know that this impacts them as well. And so with that being said, we need more structure for our youth. It's not enough to just put them in front of video games and, having outlets like sports are good, but they still need to have critical thinking skills in how to adapt in every environment, and to have purpose. Need more mentorships. We all can mentor. We have to step up. It takes all of us to do something, to do our part. Adults need mentorship, and which again, what I love about Ward 1 is that we are open to change. I truly believe we're open to change. And so with that being said, just again, taking our youth alongside us. I love supporting the environmental justice fellows. That is a group of young individuals who see the vision of where they want the city to go. And they are taking an active role in being the change they want to see by addressing the need for more trees and for, beautification to be of top priority. Have pride in where we live. And so the third one, prioritizing our roads and sidewalks. Again, I spoke about this, increasing more traffic signals and stop signs and fixing our roads, potholes and different things like that. I definitely believe these are non-negotiables. And so when elected, I will investigate, I will talk to my constituents, I will listen to make an informed decision. Going along to get along in a system that isn't working is not an option for me. I am your voice has power, ward representation does matter. Thank you.
Well, I would love to thank Sonya for participating in this. Why don't you take a few minutes to finalize your thoughts and let everybody know what you're thinking.
Well, thank you, Greg, for being a fantastic moderator. So what I would like everyone to know, my neighbors, my friends, I am the daughter of an Army veteran and a healthcare worker, raised in low-income housing in a home that didn't have much wealth, but was rich in love, values, and community. The village that raised me taught me to lead with compassion and purpose. Let's bring that same spirit here to Ward 1, where every family is seen and supported, fostering trust and nurturing meaningful relationships amongst neighbors, because neighbors do matter. And so with that being said, I am fighting for us. Will you fight for me? Vote Sonya D. Grant on Election Day, Tuesday, June 24th. And so I want to thank you for this opportunity to listen, to lead, and to serve. Thank you.
And thank you. Well, thank you again, Sonya. Everyone, thanks for tuning in. Remember, Election Day is June 24th. Get out, make sure you're registered, and get out and vote.